Lucas Fairchild stood at the edge of the Sydney Observatory, the chill of the night air biting through his jacket. Above him, a colossal Asleal ship loomed, its metallic surface glinting ominously in the moonlight. He clenched his fists, a mix of fear and determination coursing through him. "You've never been afraid of humans, alien," he muttered, his voice barely audible over the distant sounds of destruction. Beside him, Dr. Emily Winters adjusted her glasses, her eyes wide with a mix of awe and dread. "We need to move, Lucas. The data isn't going to retrieve itself." Lucas nodded, tearing his gaze away from the sky. "You're right. Let's get to the facility." The streets of Sydney were eerily quiet, save for the occasional crackle of distant explosions. The once bustling city now lay in ruins, its landmarks barely recognizable under the Asleal's oppressive occupation. Lucas and Emily moved swiftly, their footsteps echoing through the deserted streets. As they approached the abandoned research facility, Lucas's heart pounded in his chest. This place, once a beacon of human innovation, now stood as a grim reminder of their vulnerability. "Stay close, Emily," he whispered, eyes scanning the shadows. "We can't afford any mistakes." Emily nodded, her grip tightening on her makeshift weapon. "I've got your back, Lucas. We'll get through this." Inside the facility, the silence was almost palpable. Lucas led the way, navigating through the darkened corridors with a mix of caution and urgency. The glow of their flashlights illuminated the abandoned equipment and half-finished experiments, casting long, eerie shadows on the walls. They reached the central lab, where Lucas immediately set to work on the computer terminal. "We need to find out what the Asleal are planning," he said, fingers flying over the keyboard. "This data could be our only chance." Emily kept watch, her eyes darting to every corner of the room. "Just hurry, Lucas. I have a bad feeling about this." Moments later, the screen flickered to life, displaying lines of complex data. Lucas's eyes widened as he deciphered the information. "This is it, Emily. Their shields have a vulnerability. We can use this." Before they could celebrate, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors. Emily's breath caught in her throat. "Lucas, we've got company." Asleal soldiers, their alien forms silhouetted against the dim light, advanced towards the lab. Lucas and Emily exchanged a tense glance. "We need to get out of here," Lucas said, shutting down the terminal. "Now." They moved quickly, but the Asleal were faster. Lucas led Emily through a narrow passageway, their escape hindered by the crumbling infrastructure. The soldiers closed in, their guttural voices filling the air. Lucas's mind raced. He spotted an emergency exit and motioned to Emily. "This way." They burst through the door, emerging into the cold night air. Lucas slammed the door shut behind them, barricading it with nearby debris. "That should buy us some time," he said, panting. Emily nodded, her face pale but resolute. "We need to get this data back to the Resistance. It's our only hope." As they hurried away from the facility, Lucas couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. The Asleal were relentless, and this was only the beginning. But with Emily by his side and the crucial data in their possession, he felt a spark of hope. The future of humanity depended on their next move, and Lucas Fairchild was determined to see it through. Lucas and Emily sprinted through the labyrinthine alleys of Sydney, their breaths ragged in the cold night air. The distant sounds of the Asleal soldiers' pursuit spurred them on, their urgency palpable. As they rounded a corner, Lucas signaled for a brief halt, his keen eyes scanning their surroundings for any signs of danger. "We should be close," Lucas whispered, his voice barely audible over the pounding of their hearts. Emily nodded, her gaze flickering to the faint outline of a warehouse ahead. "The Resistance base is just inside. We need to get this data to Captain Chun immediately." They approached the warehouse cautiously, Lucas tapping a coded rhythm on the metal door. A moment later, it creaked open to reveal a young soldier with a wary expression. "Lucas, Dr. Winters, hurry inside," he urged, stepping aside to let them through. Inside, the warehouse buzzed with activity. Makeshift workstations were scattered around, occupied by resistance fighters analyzing data, repairing equipment, and strategizing their next move. The atmosphere was thick with tension and determination. Captain Sarah Chun, a formidable woman with steely eyes and an unwavering presence, approached them. "Did you get it?" Sarah asked, her tone brisk but hopeful. Lucas handed her the data drive. "We found a vulnerability in their shields. This could be our breakthrough." Sarah's eyes flashed with determination. "Good work. We need to analyze this immediately." She turned to a nearby technician. "Get this to the lab. We need results ASAP." As the technician hurried away, Lucas and Emily followed Sarah to a small conference room. "We need to plan our next move," Sarah said, spreading a map of Sydney on the table. "If we can exploit this weakness, we might stand a chance." Emily leaned over the map, pointing to key locations. "The Asleal mothership is here. If we can get a team inside and disable their shields, it will level the playing field." Lucas nodded. "We'll need a diversion to draw their forces away from the ship. A coordinated attack on multiple fronts." Sarah's lips curled into a grim smile. "I've already got a few ideas. We'll hit them where it hurts." Before they could delve deeper into their strategy, the warehouse shuddered with a violent explosion. Alarms blared, and the lights flickered ominously. "They've found us," Sarah muttered, her expression darkening. "Everyone to your stations. Prepare for an attack." Lucas and Emily joined the scramble, helping to fortify the entrances and ready their defenses. The ground trembled as the Asleal forces closed in, their alien technology casting an eerie glow through the warehouse windows. As the first wave of Asleal soldiers breached the perimeter, chaos erupted. Lucas found himself in the thick of the battle, using his knowledge of the enemy's technology to his advantage. Emily worked alongside the medics, her skills as a xenobiologist proving invaluable in treating the wounded. In the midst of the fighting, Lucas spotted a familiar figure. Commander Theric, his menacing form towering above the chaos, directed the assault with cold precision. Lucas's jaw tightened. "Theric's here," he shouted to Sarah. "This is our chance to take him out." Sarah nodded, her eyes narrowing. "We'll need to divide his forces. You take a team and flank him from the east. I'll hold the line here." Lucas gathered a small group of resistance fighters, their faces set with grim determination. "Stay close and follow my lead," he instructed, his voice steady despite the rising tension. As they maneuvered through the chaos, Lucas's mind raced. This could be their moment of victory, or it could spell their doom. Every step they took brought them closer to the heart of the battle, where the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Lucas led his team through the debris-strewn alleyways, their footsteps barely audible over the distant cacophony of battle. The night was thick with smoke, and the scent of burning metal and ozone hung heavily in the air. Lucas's mind raced, formulating a plan to outmaneuver Commander Theric. "We need to hit them hard and fast," Lucas whispered, his voice urgent but controlled. "Emily, you and the medics hold this position. We'll flank them from the east." Emily nodded, her eyes steely with resolve. "Be careful, Lucas. Theric is dangerous." "I know," Lucas replied, his jaw set. "But we've come too far to back down now." The team moved with practiced precision, navigating the labyrinthine streets toward the Asleal's position. The eerie glow of the alien technology illuminated their path, casting long, distorted shadows. The tension was palpable, each step bringing them closer to the confrontation. As they approached the designated flank point, Lucas held up a hand, signaling for silence. He peered around the corner, spotting Theric's towering figure orchestrating the assault. The alien commander was a formidable presence, his cold eyes scanning the battlefield with ruthless efficiency. Lucas turned to his team, his voice a low whisper. "On my mark, we hit them with everything we've got. We need to draw their attention away from the main front." His team nodded, their expressions grim but determined. They readied their weapons, the air thick with anticipation. Lucas took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Now!" They sprang into action, their attack swift and brutal. Lucas fired his weapon, the energy bolts slicing through the air. The Asleal soldiers, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. Chaos erupted as the two forces clashed, the night filled with the sounds of battle. Theric roared in fury, his eyes locking onto Lucas. "You dare challenge me, human?" Lucas met his gaze, unflinching. "I dare more than that, Theric. This ends now." The confrontation was fierce, Lucas and Theric exchanging blows with relentless ferocity. Lucas's tactical brilliance and sheer determination matched Theric's brute strength and cunning. Around them, the battle raged, the resistance fighters pushing back the Asleal with renewed vigor. Emily, holding her position, watched the fight with bated breath. She tended to the wounded, her hands steady despite the chaos. "Hang in there, Lucas," she whispered, her eyes never leaving the battlefield. Lucas felt the strain of the fight, his muscles aching and his breath coming in ragged gasps. But he could see the cracks in Theric's defenses, the alien's movements growing more desperate. With a final, determined surge, Lucas landed a decisive blow, sending Theric reeling. The alien commander staggered, his eyes wide with shock. "This cannot be," he hissed, collapsing to the ground. Lucas stood over him, his chest heaving. "It's over, Theric. Your reign of terror ends here." The battlefield fell silent as the Asleal soldiers, seeing their leader defeated, began to retreat. The resistance fighters erupted in cheers, their victory hard-won but glorious. Lucas turned to his team, a triumphant smile on his face. "We did it." Emily rushed to his side, her relief palpable. "You were incredible, Lucas." He nodded, exhaustion washing over him. "This is just the beginning. We still have a lot of work to do." Lucas Fairchild stood on the edge of the Asleal mothership's command deck, his heart racing as he surveyed the sprawling alien control center. The room hummed with the soft, ominous glow of advanced technology, casting eerie shadows on the sleek, metallic surfaces. Beside him, Dr. Emily Winters adjusted her makeshift weapon, her face a mask of grim determination. "We're almost there," Lucas whispered, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "The core should be just ahead." Emily nodded, her eyes scanning the room for any signs of movement. "We have to be quick, Lucas. Theric will realize we're here any moment now." The central conflict of their mission was reaching its peak. They had infiltrated the mothership, evaded patrols, and now stood on the brink of disabling the Asleal's primary weapon. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. Lucas led the way, his steps careful and deliberate. The hum of the ship's machinery and the occasional clatter of distant footsteps kept their senses on high alert. They reached the control panel, and Lucas immediately set to work, his fingers flying over the alien interface. "This is it," Lucas said, his voice tight with concentration. "Once we disable their shields, the resistance can launch their attack." Emily kept watch, her weapon ready. The tension was palpable, every second feeling like an eternity. The room seemed to close in around them, the stakes higher than ever. Suddenly, the doors to the command deck burst open, and Commander Theric stormed in, flanked by his elite guards. His eyes locked onto Lucas, fury blazing within them. "You think you can stop me, human?" he snarled. Lucas didn't falter. "We're not stopping, Theric. This ends now." Theric lunged forward, his guards moving to flank Lucas and Emily. The battle erupted in a blur of motion, energy bolts flying across the room. Lucas dodged and fired, his movements precise and driven by sheer willpower. Emily, resourceful as ever, used the control panel for cover, taking shots whenever she had a clear line of sight. "Lucas, behind you!" Emily shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Lucas spun just in time to deflect a blow from one of Theric's guards. The clash of metal and the scent of ozone filled the air as they fought. Despite the odds, Lucas and Emily held their ground, their resolve unwavering. In a moment of desperation, Lucas saw an opening. He charged at Theric, their battle a fierce struggle of strength and determination. Theric's raw power was formidable, but Lucas's strategic mind kept him one step ahead. With a final, decisive move, Lucas managed to disable Theric, sending the alien commander crashing to the ground. Theric looked up, his expression a mix of rage and disbelief. "This cannot be," he hissed, his strength waning. Lucas stood over him, breathless but resolute. "It's over, Theric. Your reign ends here." With Theric defeated, the remaining Asliel forces hesitated, their resolve crumbling. The resistance, seizing the opportunity, launched their attack. The mothership shuddered as explosions rippled through its core. Emily rushed to Lucas's side, her eyes wide with relief and pride. "You did it, Lucas. We did it." Lucas nodded, exhaustion washing over him. "This is just the beginning. We still have a lot to rebuild." As they made their way out of the mothership, the sight of the Resistance's victory filled them with hope. The Asliel retreat signaled a turning point, the beginning of humanity's resurgence. Lucas and Emily stood together, their bond forged in the fires of conflict, ready to face whatever came next.